Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 21, Pink Eye, Are You Holding Your New Mistress? Lu Yu looked at Cyclops Scott, who was walking towards him with a strong man in his arms, whistled and said with a smirk, "Prince, this is not the attitude you should have towards a teacher." Storm Aurora came over with a black-haired girl and taught Lu Yu earnestly, "Have you forgotten how I taught you?" "Okay. I understand." Lu Yu took a few steps back and waved his hand. He did not expect that Aurora and Scott came back from outside together. If there was anyone Lu Yu didn't want to meet at Xavier's school other than Charles, it would definitely be the Storm in front of him. Even when he meets Jean Grey, the most dangerous mutant on Earth, Lu Yu can still chat and tease her with a few words of laughter. But he will feel very powerless when facing Aurora, because other teachers no longer regarded Lu Yu as a child after coming into contact with him. Only Aurora has been treating Lu Yu as a naughty child in disciplining him for the past 8 years, and he is very strict. Scott stood behind Aurora and made a gloating face to Lu Yu, and then quickly returned to a paralyzed expression. "Did you skip class again?" Aurora stared at Lu Yu seriously, making Lu Yu's hair stand up. Lu Yu showed a forced smile and said exaggeratedly, "I know it's get out of class time now, and you are cheating your best student. Is this our new classmate?" Lu Yu looked at the black-haired girl with Aurora and tried to change the subject and said, "You are so beautiful." "Thank you, I think I might stay here for a while." The black-haired girl straightened her body slightly and said with a slight blush. She felt very embarrassed to be complimented on her beauty by a handsome man who was 1.85 meters tall and full of sunshine. "Hello, my name is Prince." Lu Yu stretched out his hand and said to the black-haired girl with a smile, "I am the anti-brain of Xavier Ability Youth Academy. If you are bullied by anyone here, you can tell me." The black-haired girl hesitated for a moment, glanced at her gloved hand, and finally stretched out her hand to hold it with Lu Yu. "You can call me Naughty." The smile on Lu Yu's face suddenly froze, and memories that had been sealed in her mind for many years rushed out. No wonder he always felt that this scene was familiar to him, but he never expected that it would be the plot from the beginning of X-Men. The little naughty black-haired girl in front of her has the ability of energy absorbing, which can absorb the energy from the body of the person she touches. Because her ability absorbs the life force of those who come into contact, this makes everyone around her feel afraid, so she is forced to run away from home. The little naughty met Wolverine in a shabby bar. After seeing Wolverine's variant ability, the little naughty knew that he and Wolverine were the same kind of people. Then the little naughty boy and Wolverine went on the road together, and were intercepted by Sabretooth sent by Magneto on the way. Finally, they were rescued by Cyclops and Storm, who arrived and took them to Xavier's school. "Is there something wrong with my name?" Seeing Lu Yu's smile freeze, the little naughty asked a little uneasily. When Lu Yu came to his senses, he couldn't tell little naughty that he was recalling the plot, so he had to cover it up quickly. "I'm just a little surprised. You look so quiet, how come you have a name like Little Naughty?" After speaking, Lu Yu secretly glanced at the strong man in Scott's arms. He now knew that this strong man should be Wolverine Logan, the protagonist of the X-Men series. "Prince, I have a task for you. Take the naughty boy to get familiar with the academy, and you will be classmates from now on." Aurora said to Lu Yu, "Scott and I have some other things to do. I'm very happy." Lu Yu knew that Aurora and the others were going to examine Logan. He made a very exaggerated noble gift to Aurora, and then said to the little naughty, "Let's go, little naughty. I will take you to meet my girlfriend. She is a very good person and I believe you will become friends." After speaking, Lu Yu took the lead to take a few steps, turned back and gestured to the little naughty to follow, and the little naughty nodded and followed him. "Do you have the same super ability as those two teachers?" The little naughty trotted up to Lu Yu and asked curiously. Lu Yu nodded and raised his right hand to show it to the naughty boy. At this time, the naughty boy discovered that there was a small amount of yellow sand floating on Lu Yu's index finger, which was slowly rotating because the amount of yellow sand was too small. You can't even spot it if you look closely. This is an exercise in fine control. Lu Yu explained to the little naughty, "I can control the sand. The naughty guys in the academy call me Sandman. Actually, I don't like this title. I prefer others to call me Desert Tyrant." Lu Yu shrugged and said helplessly, "The title Sandman doesn't sound impressive at all. I think it's pretty good." The little naughty boy was attracted by the floating sand and said with admiration, Your ability is really cool. What about you? What is your ability? Lu Yu asked knowingly. He definitely knows about Little Naughty's ability. It can even be said that no one in the entire academy knows Little Naughty's ability better than Lu Yu. The Little Naughty boy can not only absorb the life force of the person he comes into contact with, but also the personality and memory of the person he comes into contact with. The most powerful thing is that she can also temporarily simulate the mutant ability of the contactee, which will last for a few minutes under normal circumstances. Lu Yu once read a comic. In the comic, there is a little naughty boy from the universe who somehow uses some method to possess the abilities of all the mutants on the entire Earth. It can be said that he is as powerful as the protagonist. After hearing Lu Yu's question, the little naughty boy's eyes suddenly dimmed, and he said hesitantly, "It's better not to say anything, I'm afraid I'll scare you. Listen, nothing in this world can scare me except who tells me that I have a child." Lu Yu stopped and said to the little naughty very seriously, "You don't have to feel inferior. I look down on you, but we are the same kind of people. I can't have skin contact with others. Anyone I touch will have cell failure in their body and eventually die." The little naughty voice became smaller and smaller at the end. "This is a very powerful ability." Lu Yu nodded and touched his chin and said thoughtfully, "I would rather not have this ability." The little naughty girl said with a depressed face, "You don't know how painful it is to not have physical contact with others." "Who said you can't have contact with others?" Lu Yu took the little naughty hand before she could react and quickly took off the gloves on the little naughty hand. The little naughty boy was startled by Lu Yu's actions. She didn't want to hurt the handsome boy in front of her. She hurriedly wanted to pull her hand back, but how could she be stronger than Lu Yu? Something that shocked the little naughty happened. Lu Yu pressed his hand tightly against the little naughty's palm. However, Lu Yu's vitality was not absorbed even a little by the little naughty. "It seems that your ability is also a master who bullies the weak and fears the strong. He gives up when he encounters a stronger one." Lu Yu's voice sounded with a hint of ridicule. "Your senior wants to tell you a truth. All powers can be defeated. To control, you just have to find the switch." Chapter 22. How is that possible? Lu Yu's grip on the little naughty hand became weaker. The little naughty took the opportunity to pull his hand back and looked at his hand in disbelief. His eyes looked at Lu Yu uncertainly. "You touched me. But you are still good. How did you do it?" The little naughty boy has been living a cautious life for so many days, for fear of accidentally hurting others just because of his ability. Now she suddenly discovered that there was a person who could touch her skin without being hurt by her. Her mood was as complicated as it could be. If you want to harness the uncontrolled power in your body, you need to have a stronger mind first. The little naughty man nodded and said gratefully, "Thank you, I will try it." Lu Yu stopped at the door of a room, knocked on the door, turned around and said to the little naughty with a smile, "No need to thank me, I am just the porter of this sentence. Its owner is Charles, he is from this school founder and principal." The little naughty man wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by the sudden opening of the door. The person who opened the door was a girl with long golden hair like a waterfall. She was wearing a white down jacket and a pair of blue jeans. She had a charming smile on her face, and her white eyes made her even more confident. Ethereal beauty. The little naughty boy looked at the girl's delicate face and couldn't help but compare himself with the girl in his mind. However, he felt a little inferior and found that he couldn't compare in any aspect to this girl with very unique eyes. The girl was definitely Wendy, who asked Lu Yu to come to her room. She hugged Lu Yu affectionately and looked at the naughty boy with a puzzled expression. She didn't know why Lu Yu brought a girl to her. He's bringing a new love to show off his old love. Shadowcat sat in the room and looked very happy to see Lu Yu bringing a girl she didn't know. "Great. My Wendy, finally I can escape the sea of suffering and start a new life again." "No, things are not what you think." The little naughty sneaked a guilty look at Lu Yu and hurriedly denied, "Because I am new here, Teacher Ororo asked Prince to show me around. When we got to school, we didn't have that kind of relationship." While talking about little naughty, he kept waving his hands and moved his body to the side to distance himself from Lu Yu. She looked as if she had been poked into someone's mind, and her face had turned red from shyness. It is impossible for little naughty to not have any thoughts about Lu Yu. It is difficult for adolescent girls to resist the charm of handsome boys like Lu Yu. Not to mention that Lu Yu is the only one little naughty has met so far who can a boy who won't be hurt by her after touching her. This made the little naughty girl couldn't help but feel a little affection for Lu Yu. Lu Yu shrugged innocently. He had already seen from the little naughty's actions that the little naughty liked him, but he had no idea about the little naughty in his heart. Moreover, there are not many girls in the entire college who like him. Lu Yu knows that it is just a girl's admiration for outstanding members of the opposite sex during adolescence, and it will fade away quickly over time. Wendy is a smart person who can build airplanes, so she naturally sees this. She first gave Lu Yu a warning look without any trace, and then said to the little naughty with a friendly smile, "Welcome to our big family, I am Wendy. Little naughty, just call me Naughty." Little naughty glanced at Lu Yu and saw that Lu Yu had no reaction. He was slightly disappointed and said in a restrained tone, "Relax, we will all be your family from now on." Wendy gently hugged the little naughty boy and said softly, "I told you that my girlfriend is a very good person, how about it? You will be melted by my angel." Although Lu Yu said this to the little naughty, he was actually telling Wendy himself had told the naughty boy before that he had a girlfriend, and he was very honest. "Your mouth is the best." Wendy rolled her eyes at Lu Yu angrily. "What is this? You are too used to this bad guy," Shadowcat said, very disappointed. When Wendy did not criticize Lu Yu severely. "Don't get me wrong, we didn't." The little naughty girl became anxious again, but before she could finish her words, she saw Shadowcat walking to the wall and passing through. "She has no ill intentions towards you. In fact, she is a very good person. She is just targeting Prince." Wendy felt that Shadowcat's behavior of leaving midway was not polite, so she apologized and explained to the little naughty one on Shadowcat's behalf. Lu Yu walked forward and hugged Wendy, smiled and said to the little naughty, "She is right. Except for an ugly freak who plays with fire, everyone else in this school is a good person." The little naughty boy came back from his dazed state and said in amazement, "No, I know. I just think her ability is so amazing that she can pass through walls made of wood. In fact, I can pass through any object, not just wooden walls." Shadowcat's voice suddenly sounded from behind the naughty boy, startling everyone. I saw Shadowcat emerge from the wall behind, holding a bag of unopened bread and a bottle of mineral water in her hands. "I saw you touch your stomach several times. Every time I'm very hungry. You look like this." "Thank you." The little naughty girl gratefully took the food from Shadowcat's hand. She had indeed only eaten a small bag of dried meat given to her by Wolverine for a long time. Her stomach kept rebelling, but she didn't expect that it was the one she thought was the most unpleasant. The talkative Shadowcat was carefully discovered. "I'm really curious. John always takes a detour every time he sees you. Why are you so prejudiced against him? Apart from that time when you were a child, has he ever provoked you anywhere else?" Shadowcat turned his head very much. He said to Lu Yu in confusion, "He doesn't have the guts to pursue Wendy yet." "He didn't. I'm not dissatisfied with his current performance." Lu Yu nodded first, and then said with great certainty, "It's just that I am sure that he will do something to provoke me in the future." Chapter 23. Lu Yu was wandering around aimlessly. After lunch, Wendy and Shadowcat took their new friend Little Naughty to the classroom for class. For Lu Yu, he would rather wander around alone in the college than he was going to the physics class he hated the most in the afternoon. Well, Lu Yu admits that most classes in the academy are on his most hated list. Perhaps out of curiosity about the popular idol Wolverine in his previous life, Lu Yu wandered to the door of the elevator that was installed only a few years ago. Standing in front of the elevator and stopping, Lu Yu was wondering whether he should go to the laboratory to check the situation. He knew that at this time, Jean Grey should be examining the unconscious Wolverine in the laboratory. Lu Yu was thinking about what excuse he could use to enter the laboratory and see Wolverine's true face. This morning, due to the limited viewing angle from where he stood, Lu Yu only saw Wolverine's strong figure, but not Wolverine's appearance. Lu Yu was very curious whether the real-life Wolverine was as domineering as the Wolverine in the movie. Pressing the elevator button, Lu Yu decided that no matter what, the most important thing was to satisfy his curiosity first. "You should appear in the classroom on the first floor at this time." Jean Grey was putting a patch for examination on the unconscious Wolverine's body. Suddenly she heard the sound of the laboratory door opening, so she stopped what she was doing. He raised his head and said to Lu Yu, Lu Yu walked into the laboratory and came to Jean Grey. He looked at Wolverine on the operating table and said with admiration, "His body is really strong, just like a wild wolf. What do you think he usually does? How do you do exercise? I don't think this is a problem you should be concerned about." Jean Grey has become accustomed to Lu Yu ignoring her words over the years. She shook her head and continued her hand movements. "Do you want your mother to accept the child again this semester? Do you want to see your report card where you failed all the subjects? Isn't there another subject with full marks for practical exercises?" Lu Yushin shamelessly approached Jean Grey and said, "Please, I know you will help me find a way. I am your best student. You don't want to see me sad because I failed a class. Then you can choose to go back to class, and I will consider adding a few points to your final grade." Jean Grey pushed Lu Yu away and took out a test tube from the experimental table and looked at the transparency against the light. Lu Yu suddenly grabbed the test tube from Jean Grey's hand, grabbed a needle and said, "Do you want to draw blood? I'll help you, I'm the best at this." After speaking, Lu Yu plunged the needle into Wolverine's arm without waiting for Jean Grey to reply. Jean Grey could only fold her arms and look at Lu Yu helplessly. Just when the needle pierced Wolverine's arm, Wolverine's brows furrowed slightly, and he suddenly strangled Lu Yu's neck and sat up quickly. "Relax, man. No one here will hurt you." Lu Yu gave a reassuring look to Jean Grey, who was about to step forward to save her, and said in a relaxed tone to Wolverine, who was strangling her neck from behind. He had long expected that Wolverine would wake up and explode at this moment, so he rushed to draw blood from Jean Grey. Wolverine held Lu Yu hostage and looked at the surrounding environment vigilantly. When she saw that the door to the laboratory was closed and she couldn't find the switch, she asked in a hoarse voice, "Where am I now?" "New York, Westchester." Although Jean Grey chose to believe Lu Yu's judgment and did not act, she still stood there and looked at Lu Yu nervously. It's not that she's afraid that Lu Yu will get hurt, but that the secret of Lu Yu's body will be exposed. Although the strong man in front of her is the one Charles has found, Jean Grey doesn't know if he is worthy of deep trust. "Who are you? Why did you bring me here? I think it's more important to let go of me first than your question." Lu Yu's words did not make Wolverine let go of him, but instead tightened her grip a little more. Lu Yu rolled his eyes helplessly, speechless for Wolverine, who had lost his memory and was in a state of confusion. Based on his current physical strength, the threat Wolverine brought to him with the force he used to strangle his neck was no higher than when Wendy used her small fist to hammer him when she was acting coquettishly. If he wanted to resist, he could just turn around and subdue Wolverine in an instant. He didn't act like this because he wanted to express enough kindness to Wolverine. It's just that Wolverine seems to have completely ignored Lu Yu's kindness, which makes Lu Yu feel very unhappy. Why use love to influence others? The professor in Marvel's fairy tale is indeed a liar. Lu Yu whispered to himself. He no longer wants to care about Wolverine's identity as a popular idol, he just wants to teach Wolverine a big enough lesson. "Xiaoqingqin, do you know? Practical classes are actually very boring to me." What Lu Yu suddenly said made Jean Grey feel very puzzled. Wolverine also frowned, wondering what Lu Yu wanted to do when he said this. At this moment, Lu Yu's body suddenly collapsed into a sky full of yellow sand, floating out of Wolverine's control. "Because my opponents are too weak, I can't give it my all." As Wolverine and Jean Grey looked on in shock, the yellow sand flew through the air and recondensed into the human form of Lu Yu next to Jean Grey. "Now is not the time to be in a daze," Lu Yu said with a smile on Wolverine. Wolverine came back to his senses from the shocking scene of Lu Yu escaping from his control. The steel claws made of alloy in his hands suddenly popped out, and he wanted to pounce towards Lu Yu as soon as he leaned forward. Lu Yu grabbed Jean Grey, who had already controlled the surrounding objects in the air. He knew that Wolverine could not move at all. After Wolverine entered the fighting state, he suddenly found that he could not lift his legs. He looked down and saw that his feet had been grabbed by the yellow sand and tightly bound in place. Lu Yu turned to look at the operating table where Wolverine had just been lying. Under Lu Yu's gaze, the operating table began to decay and age rapidly, and finally turned into a pile of fine sand. Lu Yu raised his right hand, and the yellow sand turned into by the operating table began to slowly gather, and finally formed a huge amount of palm. Under Lu Yu's command, he lifted Wolverine up and slapped it hard towards the big alloy ball. Wall. After the giant hand, made of yellow sand, pressed Wolverine to the wall, it turned into a large sand chrysalis and fixed Wolverine to the wall, leaving only a head so that he could breathe. Can you listen to me carefully now? Chapter 24. The report on the pros and cons of the human theorem is due on Wednesday, and that's it for today. Charles glanced at Lu Yu and Wolverine, who were brought in by Jean Grey, sorted out the textbooks in his hands, and announced to the students that school was over. Shadowcat passed by Lu Yu and secretly made a gloating face to Lu Yu, then walked through the wall and left Charles's office. Logan, I heard that something unpleasant happened between you and Prince. Charles turned the wheelchair and smiled at Wolverine. Lu Yu turned her gaze away and pretended to admire a painting hanging on the wall. Do you know me? Wolverine Logan asked with a stern expression, frowning. It's been 15 years. Charles said with a heavy tone of pity, day after day, living like this, I can't remember who I am. Shut up. Logan yelled angrily. Give me a chance, I might be able to help you get your memory back. Charles's voice sounded in Logan's mind, making Logan slowly calm down. How do you make me trust you? Logan thought for a while and said. When Lu Yu heard Logan's words, he felt that a lot of the truth he had taught Logan in the laboratory had been wasted. He said to Logan, very dissatisfied, Man, I just spared your life. Could it be that I spared your life just now? Doesn't this make you believe in us? After saying that, Lu Yu turned to Charles and explained, You can't blame me. He had to attack first. I was just self-defense. By the way, Teacher Qin can testify. Lu Yu pointed at Jean Grey, who was standing next to Charles. He did not dare to call Jean Grey Xiaoqingqin in front of Charles. Do you think you can kill me with your soft sand? Logan sneered. Believe me, you're still far from it. Logan felt very unhappy about Lu Yu's action of instantly killing him, so he didn't want to be outdone at all. Hasn't anyone told you? Your innocent look is so cute. Lu Yu said with a chuckle. You also have to believe me. Other people's sand may not be able to do it, but my sand will definitely be able to do it. Lu Yu's tone was unquestionable and full of strong confidence. He made a detailed assessment of his own strengths. Putting aside everything else, in terms of combat effectiveness, he should now be on par with the hammer-wielding pseudo-god of Asgard. Coupled with other factors, if there is a fight, Lu Yu is confident that he can reach 64 points. The main reason is that Thor has a very powerful artifact, but Lu Yu does not. Otherwise, Lu Yu's winning rate can be improved a little bit. Fortunately, Lu Yu also has some advantages that Thor does not have. Not only can he control yellow sand, his body can also turn into a cloud of sand mist as if it were elementalized, making him immune to most physical attacks. Using death energy, Lu Yu can corrupt objects into fine sand and create a fighting place that is beneficial to him. He also discovered not long ago that death energy can not only take away the life of living things, it can also cause all things to destroy and wither. Over the years, Lu Yu has continued to work hard to combine his mutant ability with death energy, finally allowing him to transform his mental space into a world filled with death. If before Lu Yu pulled people into the spiritual world and could only deprive others of their ability and life by deceiving their subconscious, then in this spiritual world named by Lu Yu as the Kingdom of Death, Lu Yu's enemies they will suffer real and substantial damage, and their souls will be continuously devoured by the abundant death energy in the spiritual world. In the end, they will not even have the chance to enter the underworld and be reincarnated. In addition to these combat abilities, Lu Yu also possesses a regenerative healing factor that the false gods do not have. Before his mental power is exhausted, he can quickly reorganize himself no matter what kind of damage his body suffers. And when his mental energy is severely overdrawn, if he is fatally injured, he will fall into a deep sleep like the gods in mythology. The body's tissues may turn into dust in the air, or they may turn into an entity like Tesseract. Lu Yu is not sure because he has not tried it. He just knew that if he was forced into a deep sleep, his body would still remain in this world in some form until his soul woke up and returned in the long history. Just looking at Lu Yu's abilities, he seems to be a peerless person who can go straight to Asgard and beat up Odin, and go head-to-head with the Celestials. But only Lu Yu himself knows how miserable he is. Yes, his abilities are very strong and violent, and most of them involve the level of the Supreme Law. But the higher the level of power, the higher the conditions for using it. If Lu Yu wants to be able to hang up the celestial god group and beat him, his soul, that is, his mental power, will have to increase at least 100 times before he can barely keep up. Consumption. However, although Lu Yu is not yet that powerful, it is still easy to kill Wolverine, a mutant who is not very strong mentally and is only at the beta level. Lu Yu curled his lips. He didn't want to be like Wolverine, a poor man whose brain had been destroyed. Logan has bones made of adamantium that are difficult to destroy, but Lu Yu said that it would be enough to pull out all his bones. Logan. This student of mine definitely has the ability to do what he says, Charles said to Logan in a meaningful tone. He wants to help Logan regain his memory, and also wants to bring this Wolverine into Xavier's school camp. But facing Logan, who still didn't trust Xavier's school, he was very willing to follow Lu Yu and give Logan a kick. Now that Logan no longer has such a sharp edge, it's easier for him to talk about the rest of the matter. Charles's character is kind, but definitely not pedantic. My name is Charles. Francis. With telepathy's ability, she can also use psychokinesis to control objects. Finally, there is this little guy who fought with you. His name is Prince. He is the biggest problem student in our college. He has the ability to mind control and manipulate sand. This is our sincerity. Charles stopped very close to Logan. If Logan suddenly became violent and wanted to hurt him, Lu Yu and Jean Grey would not be able to react at all. Logan looked at Charles silently, making a decision in his heart. He suddenly smiled at Lu Yu and asked jokingly, "Boy, do you want to say that you can turn me into sand? Although I don't mean that, I can do it if I want." Lu Yu spread his hands. "Also, don't call me Sandman. I prefer others to call me Desert Tyrant. Not only perfect, but also nothing wrong yet." Chapter 25, You are a full 30 minutes late this time. Ororo stood in front of the door of the simulation training room, looked at Lu Yu who was walking slowly over, and roared to Lu Yu, "I have never seen anything like this. You are such a student with no sense of time? Everyone is waiting for you. Don't be so angry. Women get old easily when they are angry." Lu Yu was not frightened by Ororo's angry look. He was used to Ororo's angry look every time he was late. "I was disgusted by his expression. I thought you were already used to it. Your reaction has already hurt the hearts of the best students in the entire college. He must be the student with the biggest problem." Ororo rolled his eyes at Lu Yu angrily, turned around and walked into the simulation training room. "Can I apply not to take the simulated practical class and get full marks at the end of the semester? You know, this kind of class is not interesting at all to me. I will always win in the end." Lu Yu followed behind Storm. "You can apply, but I will not approve it for you. If you want to be interesting, I believe I will satisfy you this time." Ororo's words were full of conspiracy, but unfortunately Lu Yu did not hear it. "Why are there so few people in class today?" Lu Yu saw only 4 people chatting in the training room and asked Ororo with some confusion. Pyro John, Iceman Bobby, Steel Colossus, and the last one turned out to be Wolverine who hadn't joined Xavier's school yet? Burning Man John saw Lu Yu entering the door and put on a sinister smile that made Lu Yu feel bad. "Boy, do you remember how badly you beat me yesterday?" Logan walked up and patted Lu Yu on the shoulder and said with a smile, "I will definitely get back on my feet today. What on earth is going on?" Lu Yu looked at Bobby in confusion. Bobby only gave him a helpless look but said nothing. Ororo came up with a coat and handed it to Lu Yu. "This is a small team exercise, so I only selected a few people to participate." "Then why is he here?" Lu Yu grabbed the coat and asked Ororo while pointing at Logan while putting it on. "He applied for it himself," and the professor agreed. As soon as Ororo finished speaking, Logan took over her words and said, "I heard the conversation between this white-haired woman and the bald man at the door of the office. I thought it would be a good idea." Lu Yu was greatly surprised that Charles would allow Logan to access the secret place hidden in Xavier's school. It seems that Charles trusts Wolverine more than he thought. Maybe Charles already knows about Logan's past. "Do you want me to beat 4 of them one by one?" Lu Yu asked helplessly, his eyes widening. How could he not guess that this actual combat exercise was Ororo's plan against him? "No, you beat 5 of us one by one." Ororo walked between Logan and the others and said to Lu Yu in a joking tone, "By the way, there are 100 fully armed robot soldiers. The professor would actually agree to you doing such a cruel thing." Lu Yu covered her face in disbelief. I'm still just a child. I'm sorry that you have reached adulthood. This sentence no longer suits you. Ororo pressed the switch in his hand, and the metal on the walls and floor of the simulation training room began to change, and finally formed an abandoned city. Terrain. This is your final exam, and it will be included in your final grade. So you have to be careful. Training will start in 5 minutes. After Ororo finished speaking, he quickly disappeared into Lu Yu's room with the 4 people. In his sight, John turned back to Lu Yu and showed a mocking expression before leaving. You'd better video chat with your mother to say hello first, because later I will beat you until she can't even recognize you. Lu Yu reminded John loudly from behind. He was in a very depressed mood now. He didn't expect that Ororo would set such a big trap for him in the practical class. This is definitely revenge on him? Wasn't it because he pretended to be a coward in the practical class last week so that she had no way to get off? What a vengeful woman. I'm absolutely determined not to let me go home and have a good new year. The actual results are the only one I got in one subject. Lu Yu complained while controlling the yellow sand in the ruins to gather on his back. Yellow sand floated out from all corners of the ruins, spinning and gathering, forming a huge amount of sand gourd on Lu Yu's back. Prince Sandblast makes a shocking appearance. Lu Yu snorted coldly and muttered to himself in the direction where Ororo and the others disappeared. Naive Ororo, do you think you can defeat me with just the 5 of you? I will show you that numbers are meaningless in the face of absolute power. As soon as he finished speaking, a bullet flew out from the corner of the ruins. Lu Yu hurriedly used yellow sand to form a small sand wall to block it awkwardly. It's still a joke. Has it only been 2 minutes? Lu Yu yelled in annoyance. If he hadn't reacted quickly, he would have been judged to be injured by the system in the training room. In a real battle, the enemy will not give you time to prepare. Ororo's voice echoed throughout the entire field formed by the training room. This is just a small warning for your disrespect for the teacher. Let me play 5 against 1. You actually want to open the administrator rights to play with full view of the map. Lu Yu said to the sky in disbelief. Are you sure you are still the upright Ororo I know? You have to learn to win in the most disadvantaged situation, and go all out. This is not only your final exam, but also your graduation exam. I will teach you this last lesson. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 26. The battle robot's eyes were flashing with red light, and its head was turning left and right to scan for possible life forms in the wreckage of the house. The Gatling machine gun embedded in its arm is always on standby. Once a target is found, it will beat the target into a sieve without mercy. From the second floor of an inconspicuous building, a thick pillar of sand suddenly swept out of the extremely dark space and rushed straight towards the direction of the combat robot. The battle robot quickly raised the Gatling in its hand and pointed it at the sand pillar, and the Vulcan cannon that fired 4,200 rounds per minute roared without any hesitation. I saw densely packed bullets constantly hitting the sand pillar, but it had no impact on the forward speed of the sand pillar. The kinetic energy of the bullet seemed to be completely absorbed after touching the sand pillar, and it came to rest on the surface of the sand pillar. As the sand pillar advanced, all the bullets that lost their power fell to the ground with a crackle. Without even a moment's pause, the sand pillar slammed into the belly of the combat robot, where the power source of the combat robot was located. As long as that part was destroyed, the robot would be declared scrapped. The sand pillar penetrated the body of the combat robot effortlessly, just as easily as it penetrated a piece of paper. It penetrated the robot's abdomen with a hole as thick as a bucket without any stagnation. The robot whose power unit was destroyed suddenly saw sparks flying all over its body, electric current surged wildly, and its body fell heavily to the ground. The red light in its eyes flickered for a few times and then made no sound anymore. 98. Only 2 left. The sand pillar condensed into a human shape on the desolate street. It was Lu Yu who had turned off the elements. His expression was unprecedentedly serious and full of solemnity. More than half an hour has passed since the training started, but no one from the storm team has shown up yet. They are just lining up groups of combat robots to consume Lu Yu. The effect of this is obvious. 1/5 of Lu Yu's mental power has entered an extremely weak state, and there is no way to use it again in a short time. While cleaning up the obstructing combat robots, Lu Yu was also constantly looking for Storm and others. However, Although the simulation training room was only half the size of a football field, it was able to simulate a scene as large as half a county. Large map area. To find 5 people who are willing to hide in such a big place is undoubtedly to find a needle in a haystack. Lu Yu looked around cautiously and slowly explored the streets. Suddenly, a large piece of ice spread out from the dark ground of a 24-hour convenience store, approaching Lu Yu at lightning speed. It was too late for Lu Yu to avoid it, so he had to keep retreating to the rear. The peripheral vision of his eyes was fixed on a nearby traffic light. His legs were slightly bent and he jumped like a fired cannonball. The flat ice surface on the ground suddenly branched upward into several slender ice edges, which spirally entangled one of Lu Yu's feet in the air and pulled Lu Yu back to the ground in an instant. Unkind Bobby, I taught you this trick, but you actually used it against your mentor. Ice kept climbing up Lu Yu's body, freezing Lu Yu in the blink of an eye. His calf, but Lu Yu's expression was not at all flustered, but instead he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It's not scary if the enemy attacks you. What's scary is that the enemy is hiding in a corner that you can't see, ready to attack you. Walking out of the convenience store, Bobby looked a little apologetic. I'm sorry, Teacher Ororo requires all of us to do our best. I can't give in just because we are friends. And I really want to know how big the gap is between us. You are 30,000 miles under the sea, but I am on Mount Everest. I stopped at Lu Yu's waist. At this time, Lu Yu could no longer even turn his body except for his arms. Doesn't it feel bad to be unable to move? Logan walked out of another hidden building with a burning cigar in his mouth. He raised a hand, and the steel thorn in the middle slowly pierced his skin and was exposed, as if raising a middle finger. To Lu Yu, now our roles are reversed. No, I won't be beaten like a useless wolf like you. Lu Yu hit back at Logan without showing any signs of weakness. He looked around vaguely, trying to find the other 3 people hiding. Boy, your sharp teeth and mouth can't save your life on the battlefield. Logan retracted the steel thorn into his palm. This is not a life and death battle, so there is no need to use a destructive weapon like steel claws. He just wanted to give Lu Yu a good beating, but sheer power can. Logan and Bobby suddenly felt that the whole ground began to tremble, and they stumbled and struggled to stand upright. They looked at each other and looked at Lu Yu at the same time, only to see Lu Yu showing a winning smile to them. After all, Bobby was still just a student, and he was overwhelmed by this sudden situation. Logan secretly thought something bad, clenched his fist and rushed towards Lu Yu. Logan started running at full speed, leveraging his legs on the ground, and jumped fiercely in the direction of Lu Yu. He raised his arms high and charged up, hoping to knock Lu Yu out directly. Facing Logan's menacing attack, Lu Yu stared at Logan in the air with an unchanging expression, and a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The ice in front of him suddenly shattered like a mirror, and a wall of sand suddenly stood up quickly from under the ice, just in time to block Logan's fist from hitting the door in front of Lu Yu. The best thing about this urban ruin that has been abandoned for who knows how many years is that it has enough sand for me to use. The ice on the ground continued to break, and pillars of sand rose into the sky from below, forming an extremely spectacular scene like the end of the world. One of the sand pillars turned into a big hand and grabbed Bobby, who was stunned on the spot. Only one head was exposed, and the tangled sand figurine was hung on the sign of the convenience store behind him. Choose a map like this. It seems that Ororo still loves me. Lu Yu raised his eyebrows and used his strength to shatter the ice that froze his body. 10 times the physical fitness of Captain America. Everyone has worth having. After releasing the shackles of the ice, Lu Yu stared at the gravel and scrapped cars on the ground being swept into the air by the sandstorm formed by the sand pillars. Wolverine clung to a building window, trying his best to resist the suction from the heart of the sandstorm. Lu Yu has never used his full strength like today. He felt as if he could hold the whole world in his arms the next moment just by raising his hands. Now, I am the master here. Chapter 27. Lu Yu didn't notice that there was an inexplicable gray light in his eyes, which flickered on and then went out again. He raised his left hand, and a pillar of sand shot out from the ground toward Wolverine, who was struggling to resist, wrapping him into a sand chrysalis again and hanging him next to Bobby. Now you have become a useless wolf again. Lu Yu curled his lips at Logan. What am I talking about? I won't be like you. At this moment, the dark clouds in the sky suddenly began to gather, and the electric light collided among them and made a violent sound. Lu Yu raised his head warily, just in time to see a small bolt of lightning pass through the raging sandstorm from the sky and fall towards him. Do you know what happens to sand when it encounters lightning? Ororo controlled his body to float in the air and asked Lu Yu, who used elemental transformation to resist lightning damage. Fragile glass. Lu Yu's elemental body transformed back into a human form and no longer looked as majestic as before. He looked up with a pale face and smiled at Ororo and said, I kind of regret not going to physics class for so long. I couldn't think of it for a while. Lu Yu knew that Ororo had shown mercy. If Ororo's thunder and lightning had been several times stronger just now when most of his mental power was running through the sandstorm, Lu Yu might have to fall asleep for a few days before he could recover. Ororo is one of the most advanced alpha-level mutants in weather control. Her thunder and lightning are more powerful than those in nature. But even though Ororo only used a small burst of lightning, which caused little damage to Lu Yu, it had already destroyed his control over the sandstorm. As Lu Yu's mental power weakened, the movement of the sandstorm became smaller and smaller. After losing the support of the sandstorm, rocks and car wreckage continued to fall from the sky, making holes on the ground. Suddenly dust flew everywhere, blocking Lu Yu's sight. You're right. Colossus jumped from the 5th floor of a building and hit Lu Yu hard. Before Lu Yu could turn around, he hugged Lu Yu from behind with his arms that had turned into metal, and held Lu Yu back. An eye patch was put on Lu Yu's eyes. I don't want to meet those eyes of yours. I've suffered that kind of pain once before and I don't want to do it a second time. Seeing that Lu Yu didn't resist, Colossus relaxed a little more. I can see that Logan and Bobby are just your cover. Lu Yu looked helplessly in the direction of Ororo in the air and asked with a wry smile, are you trying to make me careless? Even if the battle reaches the last moment, never let down your vigilance. Ororo controlled himself to fall back to the ground, shook his head and said to Lu Yu, otherwise, it will be easy to be defeated by an enemy that is much weaker than you. Because your ability is too high, you have been a little overconfident in recent years, which can be said to be arrogant. In a real battle, your enemies will not attack you just because you are careless. They will find every opportunity to kill you. It makes sense, the winner takes all, you have the final say. Lu Yu drooped his face helplessly, although I don't know why the professor suddenly agreed to my graduation application. I know that my graduation exam seems to be smashed. Okay, I actually want to ask if I can apply for a makeup exam. It's not that Lu Yu can't fight anymore. Although his mental power has been weakened to a large extent, he can still use it if he wants. It's just that this is just an exam-type exercise. There is no need for him to scream that I can't fail and be so desperate at the same time that he is overdrawing his life and soul. Even if the explosion knocks everyone to the ground, falling into Ororo's trap is already a failure in Lu Yu's eyes. He is a very proud person, very proud. When Colossus heard Lu Yu admit defeat, he decisively let go of Lu Yu, then scratched his iron head without saying anything. Boom. Lu Yu took off the blindfold and looked over at the sudden sound, and found that it was the sound of Logan breaking away from the sand pupa and falling to the ground. Wait, there's me? Bobby doesn't have as much strength as Logan, so even if the sand chrysalis loses Lu Yu's control, he can't struggle away. Logan turned around, and the steel claw in his hand suddenly popped out. He jumped up on a reinforced concrete slab. The steel claw stabbed Bobby straight, causing Bobby to close his eyes in fear. Logan's claws didn't hurt Bobby, but dug into the bottom of the sand chrysalis vacuum. The overall structure of the sand chrysalis was damaged and disintegrated into scattered yellow sand, which fell to the ground from the convenience store plaque along with Bobby. Thank you. Bobby got up from the ground, dusted himself off and thanked Logan in shock. At this time, John the Pyroman controlled 2 huge amounts of fireballs in his hands and walked out of an office building with a gloomy expression. How can you admit defeat? I haven't even taught you a lesson. I have to wait for you to show up before I admit defeat. Lu Yu felt that John was ridiculous. Who do you think you are? The protagonist. Don't you understand the current situation? How dare you be so arrogant? John looked at him with hatred, gritted his teeth and smiled sinisterly at Lu Yu. You can't just turn into sand and hide around, right? I really want to see what a disgusting person like you looks like with an expression of regret. John threw the 2 fireballs in his hand towards Lu Yu, and when he was about to get close to Lu Yu, They suddenly turned into two fire dragons roaring. Then he rushed towards Lu Yu. Colossus looked at the fire dragon rushing towards Lu Yu. He frowned, pushed Lu Yu behind him, and blocked the two fire dragons with his body turned into steel. John, you are violating the rules. Prince has already given up. Aurora shouted angrily at John. The gray light loomed in Lu Yu's eyes, and his heart was now filled with anger. An attack of this intensity is the maximum that John can achieve. Most people will be seriously injured even if they are not killed. Among the mutants present, only Aurora knew that he had the regenerative healing factor, which meant that John deliberately wanted to kill him. Thinking of this, before John could return to Aurora, Lu Yu turned into a pillar of sand and rushed towards John. Facing the menacing pillars of sand, John panicked and took out his lighter from his trouser pocket, but before he could start a fire, he was pressed against his stomach by the sand pillars transformed by Lu Yu, smashing several large rocks along the way. Arrived on a scrapped bus. After knocking John into the bus, the sand pillar returned to human form. Lu Yu grabbed John's neck and lifted him up. It seems that after all these years you still haven't understood that regret has never been in my dictionary. Large streams of blood kept coming out of John's mouth. Due to lack of oxygen, he struggled to grab Lu Yu's hand to breathe, but his weak strength was unable to shake Lu Yu at all. Finally, the hands that lost their strength could only hang down weakly. Remember that I said I would beat you until your mother doesn't even recognize you. The gray light in Lu Yu's eyes flickered again, reaching an unprecedented level of brightness. His plain voice was filled with extreme coldness. Now I've changed my mind. I'll make sure she never sees you again. Chapter 28. Prince, do you still remember what I said to you? John, who was about to expire, suddenly looked serious and stared at Lu Yu with unusually deep eyes and asked. Seeing this situation, Storm and others stopped moving forward. Tolerance. Lu Yu's dazzling gray eyes looked directly at John, as if he was looking at the person who controlled John through his soul. He said in a very disdainful tone, tolerance can only be used to treat my friends, and he is absolutely not among them. It would make me and everyone sad if you did that. Lu Yu's brows furrowed and his voice was cold. I can understand that you are threatening me. Kid, no one can threaten you. I just don't want you to be filled with anger and hatred like an old friend of mine. Prince, don't let your humanity get lost. That will make those who love you sad. Compared to me, I think you care more about your eternal pyro baby. Otherwise why would you stop me again and again? Lu Yu's voice had a hint of cold sarcasm. He threw John to the ground heavily and let out a dull cry. Sooner or later he will provoke others. You can't always protect him. Out of respect for Charles over the years, Lu Yu decided to give Charles some face and did not kill John on the spot. John's body fell to the ground and received a violent impact. He twitched a few times and spit out 4 or 5 mouthfuls of blood, and passed out. Even if he escaped with his life, judging from John's tragic situation, it would be impossible for him to get out of bed without lying in bed for several months. Moreover, Lu Yu had no intention of letting John go just like that. In his heart, there was a voice that kept talking to him, telling Lu Yu that he could not let John live. As a blasphemer, John not only had to die, but his soul also had to be completely destroyed. Lu Yu took a deep look at the unconscious John on the ground, turned around and left the simulation training room without saying a word, without speaking to the few people who ran forward to rescue John. Aurora looked at Lu Yu's back with a complicated expression. From Lu Yu just now, she felt a powerful aura that she had never seen before, full of cold and suffocating pressure. When night came, Lu Yu lay on the bed in his room and looked at the ceiling decorated like a real starry sky. His mood was very contradictory. On the one hand, it is the tolerance and understanding that Charles has taught me over the years, and on the other hand, it is the unknown calling deep in my heart. The balance of his thoughts was uncontrollably tilted towards the latter. As he grew older, Lu Yu felt more and more that although the path Charles was taking was not wrong, it was by no means the path that suited him. In the constant tangle of thoughts, Lu Yu fell into sleep unknowingly. He had a dream, in which a black shadow whose appearance he could not see clearly stood in front of him, and he felt very close to this shadow. He stretched out his hand to touch it, but the shadow was getting further and further away from him. No matter how much he shouted, he could not stop the shadow. Alas, he only heard a faint sigh, which made him feel empty in his heart. Have you seen the little naughty boy? Wendy lifted up Lu Yu's quilt early in the morning and asked Lu Yu eagerly. Lu Yu rubbed his groggy eyes and sat up reluctantly, and said very innocently, "How could I possibly know this kind of thing? Maybe I went on a date with a boy. You are friends who live across the street. Why do you still come? Ask me. Don't act stupid for me. No one can tell that she likes you. It's all written on her face." Wendy patted Lu Yu's head with the book in her hand. Lu Yu took the opportunity to grab Wendy's hand, pulled Wendy into his arms and hugged her. As soon as she fell down, the two of them fell asleep facing each other on the bed. "What are you doing? You want to cause trouble again." Wendy's voice became smaller and smaller, her face turned red like a ripe apple, making people want to take a bite. Lu Yu gently stroked Wendy's silky hair, and said to Wendy with affection in his eyes, "I already have you, an angel who fell into the mortal world. How could I like other women in this world?" Hearing Lu Yu's disgusting words of love, Wendy shyly buried her head in Lu Yu's arms. "So, I really didn't sleep with the naughty boy last night." Lu Yu's tone suddenly became serious. Wendy pushed Lu Yu away, rolled her big eyes at Lu Yu, and said angrily, "What nonsense are you thinking about? Then why did you come to my room so early in the morning looking for a naughty kid?" Lu Yu replied looking very aggrieved. "It's because something bad happened yesterday, and I'm afraid that the little naughty boy won't be able to think of anything stupid." Lu Yu's expression returned to normal, his brows furrowed, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. "Tell me more carefully, what bad thing happened last night?" "Yesterday, a child accidentally touched the skin of Little Naughty, and then the students discovered Little Naughty's ability." Wendy said with a worried look, "I don't know who spread the rumor that Little Naughty will steal other people's skin ability. Everyone is a little afraid of her. This morning I went to the Little Naughty room to look for her, and found that her person was not there, and she didn't answer her cell phone calls." Lu Yu's expression suddenly changed when he heard this, and a memory flashed in his mind. He sat up suddenly, startling Wendy. "What are you doing? You go to class first. I seem to know where the little naughty boy is." After saying that, Lu Yu grabbed his coat and ran out of the room, leaving Wendy staring at his back without knowing what was going on. Chapter 29. If Lu Yu guessed correctly, Mystique must have sneaked into the college, transformed into a student in the college, and drove the naughty boy out of the college. The purpose is to get the little naughty girl out of the protection of Xavier's school so that Magneto can capture her and use her ability to activate a black technology machine that transcends the times. This machine can write an unstable X gene into the bodies of ordinary people, thereby converting ordinary people into mutants. Magneto plans to use this machine to turn leaders of various countries into mutants at the World Summit, thereby realizing his ideal future. Magneto does not know that this machine is just a failure. The X gene written in it will collapse in a short time, and the converted person will die as a result. His idea is simple. If the leaders of all countries in the world become mutants, then mutants will surpass humans and become the superior race on Earth. You can't blame Lu Yu for not taking precautions in advance. After all, he has been in this world for 18 years, and many memories of his previous life have been blurred. It is not easy to remember it at this critical time. Arriving at the garage outside the college, Lu Yu wanted to drive away his customized Porsche, but accidentally left Scott's nitrogen motorcycle in the corner. This is the car Wolverine rides in the movie, and it is said that it can be as fast as it is about to fly. It is worth mentioning here that because of Lu Yu's troubles, poor Cyclops did not counterattack and win Phoenix back. Scott, who usually doesn't have a girlfriend to play with, loves this motorcycle more than he loves women. Not to mention letting Lu Yu ride for a few laps, he wouldn't even be touched. I don't know why Scott parked it randomly in the garage today, with the key inserted and the ignition on. Lu Yu estimated that Scott just left temporarily because of something urgent and would definitely come back soon. If Red Eyes asks, I will tell him that his motorcycle invited me first. Seeing that there was no one else around, Lu Yu got on Scott's motorcycle. With the engine making a deafening roar, the entire motorcycle rushed out of the garage like an arrow. Scott stood on the lawn outside the college with a bottle of motor oil in hand. He was stunned when he saw his beloved motorcycle speeding past him, blowing up his leather jacket and making a squeaking sound. Lu Yu knew that after leaving Xavier's school, the little naughty boy would go to the train station and plan to continue his wandering life. And Magneto will personally capture the naughty boy after the train leaves New York City. The New York train station is not far from Xavier's school, probably less than 50 kilometers away. Lu Yu relied on the liquid nitrogen in his motorcycle to drive him like a beast on the road, and arrived at the train station in less than 20 minutes. After searching carefully in the lobby of the train station for a long time, Lu Yu did not find the little naughty figure. He glanced at the entrance and guessed that the little naughty boy might have already completed the ticket check and got on the train. "Hi, friend. Where are you going?" Lu Yu casually grabbed a young man who had just bought a ticket and asked. "What's the matter with you?" The young man was stunned by Lu Yu's words. He didn't understand why Lu Yu, a stranger, would ask him this question. "Okay, the location doesn't matter. I'll give you 10 times the money. Please go and queue up again to buy a ticket." After saying this, without waiting for the young man to reply, Lu Yu took out his wallet, randomly took out a few $100 bills and put them in the young man's hand, and at the same time grabbed the ticket from the young man's hand. Boston. Lu Yu glanced at the terminal station of the ticket. "I know Boston University, a very good school. Do you want to go to school?" "Yes, sir." The young man's hand holding the money was shaking a little. He was so overwhelmed by the huge amounts of happiness that he couldn't find his way. "Sir, are you sure you want to do this? This money is enough to buy 20 tickets to Boston. Votes. Consider it the income of your labor." Lu Yu turned around and made an encouraging gesture to the young man while walking towards the entrance. "Come on, study hard. I believe you will be able to work under me in the future." The little naughty boy was sitting on the train. He saw the child in his mother's arms not far away, and looked out the window sadly. Whether it's family or friendship, after her mutant ability awakening, it became a luxury for her. Everyone is afraid of her and afraid of being hurt by her ability. And the boy who is the only one immune to his ability will never see him again in the future. Wendy is so beautiful and has such a gentle personality. With such a girlfriend, Prince will soon completely forget about me, right? After all, I am just an inconspicuous passerby in his life. The little naughty boy looked at the train. People of all shapes and sizes kept passing by, murmuring in a low voice with some emotion. "I seem to hear someone calling my name. Is it you, little naughty boy?" Xiao Tao turned around in surprise and found that Lu Yu, whom she had been talking about in her heart, was standing in front of her with a sunny smile on her face. "It's really hard to find you. I traveled 8 trains." Lu Yu sat next to the naughty boy and exhaled heavily, looking exhausted. "If you don't treat me to 2 meals, this thing cannot be solved. I'm sorry." The little naughty woman buried her head sadly, tears dripping down her pants one by one. "Are you here to come back to me? There is no goodbye or hug. Do you plan to leave without saying a word?" Lu Yu did not answer the little naughty words, but asked instead. "I was told that the professor was angry and that everyone wanted me to leave." The little naughty boy raised his head and wiped his tears while sobbing. Lu Yu hesitated for a while, then put his arm around the little naughty shoulder and comforted. "None of us will hate you, and no one wants you to leave. Wendy is still anxiously looking for you everywhere. As her boyfriend, I think you should call her back to say she's safe. What do you think? As for the person who said those words to you, she is just an old liar who has expired. She can no longer represent our college." Chapter 30. I just want you to tell me whether you want to go home with me. Lu Yu stood up and extended his hand to the little naughty boy. "Can that place be called my home?" The little naughty boy's eyes flashed, looking very hesitation. "If you are willing, all of us will be your family." Lu Yu replied sincerely, "No matter what kind of difficulties you encounter, we will accompany you to face them." Lu Yu definitely heard what the little naughty man was talking to himself just now, but he already had a girlfriend, so he could only pretend not to hear it. For this girl who likes him, all he can do is help her more. The little naughty looked into Lu Yu's innocent eyes and slowly placed his gloved hand in Lu Yu's palm. "Let's go home." Lu Yu was driving the naughty boy back to school. When he was passing by a forest with thick trees, his motorcycle suddenly swayed uncontrollably. Lu Yu tried to control the motorcycle, but as it moved forward, the swing of the motorcycle became larger and larger. In order to prevent the little naughty boy from being thrown off the motorcycle, Lu Yu had to slow down a little bit. Something's wrong here. As the swing began to swing violently, Lu Yu finally had to turn off the motorcycle with the dashboard spinning wildly and park it on the side of the road. He helped the little naughty boy, who was still in shock, out of the car. He looked around cautiously. He looked around. Is anyone here? The little naughty girl grabbed Lu Yu's arm nervously. She remembered the saber-tooth she met with Logan before she was taken to Xavier's school, and asked with a worried tone. An incredible old guy. Lu Yu looked solemnly at the ground. Several rusty iron nails rolled around on the ground, floated tremblingly, and made a buzzing sound in the air. Magneto? I know it's you. As Lu Yu shouted, an old man walked out of the woods with a leisurely look, as if taking a walk after dinner. He crushed a dry branch in front of him and slowly walked towards Lu Yu and the little naughty one. This old man was wearing a black cloak and robes, and a brown metal helmet with intricate patterns on his head. He exuded the majesty that only belonged to the upper class, and people couldn't help but be in awe of him. He is one of the top strongest among mutants, the absolute leader of the Mutant Brotherhood, the alpha-level peak mutant who can control the entire Earth's magnetic field. Magneto? Let's see, who is this little man? Magneto stood less than 10 meters away from Lu Yu and the little naughty man, his tone full of joking. Sandman from Xavier's school, I know you too. After speaking, Magneto also knocked the metal helmet on his head and smiled at Lu Yu very meaningfully. I don't want to care about your conspiracy. There will always be someone to stop you anyway, but I won't let you take her away from me. Lu Yu frowned and blocked the little naughty thing behind his body with his hand. You still go fiddle with your pile of junk yourself. He's here to catch me. The little naughty boy swallowed in disbelief. Didn't he want to catch Logan? That little wolf cub whose whole body is made of steel and iron. Magneto said with a regretful tone, although he is good, he is not worthy of my huge effort. You seem to know what I want to do. Magneto turned his head and said to Lu Yu in surprise, let me guess, did my old friend Charles tell you? When did he become so smart? I'm sorry. Not only do I know your ridiculous plan, I also know that it was doomed to fail from the beginning. Lu Yu looked at Magneto and said with ridicule, your life is really sad. You will never be able to figure out the situation. Can't you see the situation? Magneto shook his cloak and snorted, you are the ones who can't see the situation? Tolerance, kindness, trust. The philosophy of Xavier's school is simply childish and ridiculous. This is a war. If we fail, they will lock us up and carve slave numbers on our foreheads. Magneto roared angrily, his voice full of hatred, is this what you want? Don't stop me, I will bring us victory. Magneto walked up to Lu Yu, looked directly into Lu Yu's eyes and said very confidently, mutants will no longer be a weak group, because leaders from all countries will join us. Is this the reason why you want to sacrifice the little naughty one? Facing the aggressive Magneto, Lu Yu's eyes did not dodge. You keep saying that what you do is for mutant, but you want to use the resources of your own people, use your life to achieve your selfish goals. Her sacrifice was for our future and for mutant to be reborn. This is an extremely glorious thing, and she should be proud of it. Magneto said matter-of-factly. Such an honorable thing, then why don't you do it yourself? Lu Yu had a sarcastic smile on his face. I know, the reason you are afraid of death is that mutant needs you as a leader. It seems you understand me very well, kid. Magneto was not angry, but looked at Lu Yu with interest. Charles's thoughts are too naive. How about you consider joining my camp? Let's fight for mutants' future together. War. You and I are gods above all living beings, and there is no need to associate with humans. Stop your ridiculous rhetoric that has been repeated 1,000 times. Lu Yu's eyes were blazing, and he said decisively every word, I suddenly understand. Now that I should not belong to either of you. In fact, it has always been like this. Fighting alone? A very stupid choice. Magneto shook his head and said with great pity, young people are typically arrogant. They always think that they are the protagonist. Little guy, I can tell you so much here because I have seen your information from my allies. Do you know what they call you in Hydra's files? Desert Tyrant? I like people to call me that. Although Lu Yu was teasing, his heart was full of vigilance. Magneto's Brotherhood is actually related to Hydra. These two evil villain organizations definitely don't want to do good things like community volunteering together. And Lu Yu doesn't know whether Hydra's investigation of him is limited to his status as a billionaire, or whether he has some knowledge of his true power. Regarding Hydra, a remnant of the Nazi era, Lu Yu was full of fears about their penetration and intelligence capabilities. Dawn God. The highest level top secret documents are only sealed on paper. Magneto raised his head slightly, his eyes narrowed to a slit, full of inquiry, as far as I know, in addition to controlling sand. You also have a spiritual type. Variant ability. But I think these should not be worthy of the title of God of Dawn, nor can they become the highest level top secret documents. God of Dawn. Lu Yu's expression remained unchanged, but his heart sank slightly. This is really an ironic title. You don't seem surprised at all. Magneto became more curious and leaned forward slightly. Can I tell you the hidden secret? You want to know my secret? Lu Yu raised his eyebrows and smiled. Definitely. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Yu suddenly got angry and punched Magneto in the face. There was a slight tearing air sound in the air. Like, I'm actually a melee magician. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.